Hello my dear students, welcome to my channel. Today in this video we are going to discuss summary of a class 9 poem and the name of the poem is Africa. So in short, with few points we are going to learn the whole poem. So stay tuned till the end and do not miss any part because it's going to be very interesting and informative for you all. But before that, if you are viewing my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications of all the upcoming videos. And like the video and do share with the friends. And also visit the description box because I'll be providing with a link where you have the uh, class 9 lessons explanations, question answers and overall everything of English subject which is completed there. So kindly visit the description box and click the link and take the fullest benefits. Okay, so let's get started with today's summary of this poem, Africa. So let's see about the poet first. The poet of this poem is David Mandisi Diop. He was born in 1927 and he died in 1960. He was a revolutionary African poet who was born in France. Okay. Now, his parents were of West African descent. He visited Africa only in 1950s. Now here, the poet is expressing his love for Africa. He was a revolutionary poet and he gave the message to Africans to bring about the change and freedom. So now as you see, he was born in France, but his parents were belonging to Africa. They were the descendants of African. Okay, so that is why he expresses his love for Africa because he also somewhere he belongs to Africa because his grandparents and parents belong to the African descent. So he himself visited Africa only in 1950s, but he remembers everything what was explained by his grandmother, and that is how he became a revolutionary poet. He is trying to give a message to other Africans to bring a change and freedom. Okay, so now what change and freedom? We'll see it in the poem here in the summary. Okay, so as we know, Africa was a country which was under the colonial rule for many years. So that time this people of African were tortured and were not given the freedom. So it's for that the poet is giving the message to be strong and bring the change and get the freedom. Okay, so here the poet reflects his hope for an independent African nation and the problems brought to the continent by colonialism. So as I said, the poet is reflecting his hope. He is hoping for an independent African nation there. Why? Because there is much problem in the continent which is brought by colonialism. Now, what is colonialism? It is a political rule which is done by other country. Forcibly, the other country comes and takes over the rule of your country, and they have their own rules and they try to rule upon the people as well as the other. Try to bring on their own rules according to their benefits, and the people has to work as slaves. So this is the condition. So this was the condition of Africa during those times. Now through this poem, Diop attempts to give a message of hope and resistance to the people of Africa. So what message is the poet trying to give through this poem to the people of Africa is that he's giving them the hope and resistance. Like you have to get up, you have to speak up, you have to come against the law and the rules of colonialism. So he is giving them hope and he is motivating them. He's giving them the message to get up and resist against the people of the colonial rulers. Now the poet starts reminiscing about Africa, a land he has not seen but only heard about from his grandmother's songs. Now, what does the poet do? He starts recollecting all the happy moments, all the happy past moments of Africa. Though he has not seen the land, but he had only heard from his grandmother's songs. Grandmother used to sing a song of Africa and she used to give all the descriptions of the beauty and how good the African country was at once. So he is recollecting those good moments and he is trying to do all these things with the help of the song which he has heard from his grandmother because he himself has not visited yet the land of Africa. Okay. Then he describes the travels and toils the African people have undergone through ages under the British colonialism. So now in this poem, he also describes the toils, the hard work, the sufferings that the African people have undergone through ages under the British colonialism, under the British rule who had taken the control forcibly over the Africa and African people. Okay, so that is highlighted here. The poet addresses Africa as a nation which has struggled throughout for respect. So, the Africa is a nation which has been struggling throughout to gain respect for the people. Because they were under the rule of British colonialism, they did not get respect from them. They were only tortured and kept as slaves. So, they have always been struggling to get that respect. So, that is also highlighted here in the poem. Now, the African people have toiled as slaves in the fields of white men. He has been slaves for generations. So, as said, African people have toiled, means worked hard as slaves in the fields of white men, means white men had ruled them. Under the rule of white men, they had to work hard as slaves. And this has been through generations, through many years and many years, they have been working like this. The poet wonders whether the country has become depressed and demoralized under the weight of humiliation. So obviously, if somebody goes under such a pain and such a hard time, they are going to get depressed. So poet is wondering here whether the country and the people has become depressed and demoralized, demotivated because of the pressure of humiliation, because of the disrespect what they have got, because of the ill treatment which has been done to them. Then he feels sorry for all those blacks who have split their sweat and blood and have borne the whiplashes and pain very stoically. Now, after this, the poet feels very sorry for all those black peoples, means all those African people who have spilled their sweat, means who has worked hard and sweated on the land, on the field, working for the other people, and uh, they have borne the whiplashes. Now, whiplashes are the, you can say, the stick which is used to hit the horses and the animals to make them run fast. So they have been bearing the pain of whiplashes very stoically, means without complaining about it anything. They have been just bearing all the tortures and the pains which has been given to them by the other colonial rulers. Now he reminds them of the strength and pride they have in them, and to say no to the whip of the colonialist, which forces them to work in hot midday sun and leave scars on their backs. So now the poet is trying to motivate them and remind them and give them the strength and pride. He is reminding them that you are more powerful, you have the strength and you have the pride, and that you can get up and say no to the whip. You should not bear the pain or the whiplashes now of the colonialist. And you should go against the forces which they are forcing you to work in the hot midday suns, which is leaving you in scars in the backs because of the wound, because of the sunburn. You are getting so many scars in your backs. So you have to stand against them. You have to raise up your voice, and you have that strength and pride in you. So the poet is trying to remind the African people to get motivated and stand against and resist against them, these rulers. Now the poet urges them to be strong and remain unbent despite the weight of their suffering. So poet accepts that there was a big suffering or lots of suffering which has been bared by the people, but despite that he says them to stay strong and to remain unbent, not to break themselves, not to uh, not to go back from this, but they have to start resisting, and they have to be very strong in this fight. Okay, fight for freedom. Then the poet suddenly hears a voice reprimanding him that his country, Africa, was not an infirm old woman, but a strong young tree, which is standing proud and erect amidst the white and faded flowers. So the poet now hears suddenly a voice reprimanding. Reprimanding means ordering. Okay, somebody who is of a higher position orders you or scolds you. That's known as reprimanding. So he hears his reprimanding voice, and that voice is saying him that this country is not an infirm old woman. Infirm means physically weak. Okay, it's not a physically weak old woman, but the country of Africa is a strong young tree, and it's standing proudly straight. Erected means still straight between the white and faded flowers. Okay, still it has the proud and strength that it's standing straight in between the white and the faded flowers, means the blooming and the unblooming or the faded flowers. So still the African country has that part, has that strength in it. Now the voice says that though the country has faced humiliation, it grows back to its original stature very patiently and obstinately. So this voice which he is hearing, he hears that the country is still strong, even though it has faced the humiliation, and it's trying to go back to its original stature, original height, original position, very patiently and obstinately. Means slowly and the slowly and patiently, it's trying to go to its original position or its original status. Then finally, he also gives the message that Africa will not lead a life of slavery forever, but will break the shackles and bring about change and freedom. So at last, the poet is having that hope, and that he's giving the message to the people that Africa is not going to lead the same life of slavery forever, but it is going to stand up and fight and break the shackles. Now, shackles are the chains, you can say, okay? The shackles, and bring about the change and freedom in the country. And if they are having the strong willpower, they are going to achieve this freedom. So, with this hope and with this positive message, the poet ends the poem here. So, I hope with these few points you have understood the whole summary and the theme of the poem. If you like this poem and video, if it was useful, do hit the like button and share with your friends. Do subscribe the channel, as it will be more beneficial for you. So stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more such videos. Thank you.